What's going on YouTube? So in this video, I would like to present a beginner tutorial for Bash scripting. You know, most of you guys, if you want to master Linux administration, or if you want to work if you want to automate your pen testing tasks, you must have fundamental knowledge of Bash scripting. Now, in this lesson, or in this video, I'm going to go over the basics of Bash scripting. And in the next video, I will lay down some practical examples taken and inspired from the penetration testing word in order to demonstrate how to use Bash scripting language for advantage in penetration testing. Now, in this video, we're going to go over fundamentals like echoing statements, defining variables, reading from the input, user input, loops, for, while, if, else, whatsoever. So I'm going to cover the basics, and after that video, I'm sure that you will be ready to tackle down practical scenarios, or let me say, practical use of Bash scripting. Now, as you all of you know, I'm working now on Black Arc, trying to get my hands dirty on that system. So basically, let's start. All of you guys know that Bash scripting. First thing to know in Bash scripting is how to print something to the output. So you have echo command, and echo defines double quotes or single quote, doesn't matter. And here you define, for example, Bash scripting for beginners. And once you hit enter, it's gonna put that to the output, to the screen out, std out. So most of you guys know this, I know, but you need to start with the basics, So basically, how you can define a Bash script. So basically, a Bash script, guys, ends with the extension of sh. So basically, if you want to create a script based on Bash scripting, we can, for example, what's the working directory is root. All right. So here I can make directory here and name it bash. Okay. And here I have the directory bash and cd to bash. And inside here, I put my scripts. Okay. Now, I'm going to make this terminal for navigating to the file system. And here I'm going to make it to make amendments on my script that I'm about to create. Okay, let's choose another color. I didn't like the white color. Let me choose the yellow one. Okay, ls cd bash. Okay, I'm in bash now. Now I can type nano, and here I define my script. Okay, this is bash script, guys. How I define that? By using the shebang. Now, so basically, guys, the shebang is the defining line to tell the interpreter that you are using Bash scripting. So in order to begin with this, we can do like this. I put the square with a square, okay. And after that, I put bin. All right, now I'm telling the interpreter that, which is actually the line one is commonly known as the shebang, and is ignored by the Bash interpreter, but the second part here, bin bash, is the absolute path to the interpreter, which is used, guys, to run this script. Okay, this is what makes a Bash script, as opposed to another type of shell script like C or Python, whatsoever. So basically, over here, I can go online and type echo, or echo hello, for example, YouTube. And then I need to make this script executable. Now let's run this script, guys. So over here, or I can do like this, bash scripts. Okay. Okay, cd bash. So as you can see, when I execute that, it gave me hello YouTube as I put. So basically that's a basic use, echoing something to the output. But bash is more than like this. So first we're gonna move to defining variables. We can declare variable values in a number of ways. Now the easiest method is to set the value, okay, directly with a simple name value declaration. Okay. Now from the command line, it looks like this. For example, I say a variable like user equal Cali. Okay. Now, if I want to print the value of the variable user to the screen, I need to type echo. Okay, and then I have to use the $sign, then user. Now it's going to print out Cali. Okay. Now, how can I use that inside the script? Let's go back to our script. Now over here, I define a variable called user, and then I put the value, which is Cali. No semicolons, guys. Okay. After that, I echo the value of that, or this is the value of the variable user, let's say, and then here I put $sign and user. Or let me keep that. Okay, so here, let's execute the script. Now it's saying hello YouTube, which is the line over here, and then this is the value of the variable user, which is Cali. Okay, so this is how you define a variable, and this is how you access the value using the $sign, and you make sure the variable. Now variable names, guys, may be uppercase, lowercase, or a mixture of both. However, bash is case sensitive, so we must be consistent, as you know, when declaring and expanding variables. In addition, I think it's good practice, guys, to use descriptive variable names, which make your scripts much easier to read and maintain. Now, what we're going to do over here is something called assigning the value of a command to a variable. Okay, so for example, let me go to the command line over here. So for example, if you type who am I, it's going to say you are the root, right? Now, if I want to assign the output of a Linux command to a variable in bash, all I have to do is, for example, I can say variable name, for example, identity, right? Equal, put like parentheses, and then $sign who am I. So now the output of the command who am I, okay, I'm taking the value or the output of the result of who am I and assign that to identity. I click enter and then I type echo to access the value of identity. It is empty. So I guess I made some mistake. Okay, ID. All right. Let me change the value. Let's say, I think I'm making a mistake here. It should be the $sign should be outside, like this. So I'm gonna do that again. Who am I? Now echo. All right. Now it gave us root. So basically, the command who am I, the result of it, okay, is given as a value, a direct value to the identity variable. We can do the same, guys, inside a bash script. So basically, in our bash script, we can go back and here type, for example, echo. Let's say, or let's put like this: identity equal $, and then we put here who am I, okay? And then we print the value of the identity or the result of the command who am I to the screen. Echo the current system user is, which is identity, right? Okay. Now, okay. Okay, so we go back here, execute the script. Now, hello YouTube, this is the value of the variable user Kelly. The current system user is root. Nice. Okay, now we have defined how to echo a statement in the command line, and how to define a variable, and how to pipe the result of a command into a variable and print that out to the screen. Now, what we're gonna do now is, guys, we're gonna define or learn how to define a user input or prompt the user for an input, right? For example, I want to make an interactive shell to ask the user for their name and password, for example. Okay, now I can do that through command line arguments. So basically, command line arguments are a form of user input, but we can also capture interactive user input, okay, while a script is running with the read command. So basically, with the read command, we can capture user input and we assign the user input what's the user is typing on the shell or the command line. We assign that value or the result to a variable, guys. And then we take that variable and use it in a place later on in the script. So basically, two of the most commonly used options, we can use two options for this. Now in our script here, let's say I want to prompt for a username and password. Okay. Now all I have to do is, for the username, okay, it's better to use option which is -p. Okay, which allows us to specify on prompt. Okay, and for sensitive information, we can define the switch -s, which makes the user input silent. Okay, now basically here, what I do here, echo, please enter your username and password. Now he is gonna put read, and then we put the switch -p, and we define for example, the variable, okay, that will have the value of the user input. Okay, so now we put like username, and over here I put username. Now let's explain that. Now read means take the input from the user. Okay, switch -p, it means we allow we specify a prompt, kind of prompt to the user. Here the username will be printed out to the screen, telling the user that you are about to enter your username, right? The username here is the value of the user input. Now, whatsoever the user will write, the command line will be assigned to this. Okay. Now let's ask for the password. Read, and we need to switch S, okay, to make the input silent, not to show the password to the, in front of the screen. Now we put P for prompting the user, and then we specify that we are requesting the user to enter the password. And then we put password. All right. And then let's say that we want to tell the user that your operation of assigning username and password has been successful. This is the username and password. So you can do like this, echo, for example, thank you, your username is username, right? Okay, and your password is password, and that's it. Let's save our changes, and let's run that here. As you can see here, let me go back to my script. Okay, as you can see, guys, here everything has been executed. Now it has prompted me to enter my username. I'm gonna write Mu'tasim. The password, I'm gonna type my password, but as I specified the switch using -s, my password shouldn't be shown on the screen. All right, now it's saying where? Okay, thank you. Username is Mu'tasim and your password is this one. I know I should put end of the line, but I forgot that. So that's how you read the user input, guys. Okay, now let's go to another basic and important part of bash scripting, which is the use of if, else, and else if statement. Now, basically, these are conditional statements, and they allow us to perform different actions based on different conditions. The most common conditional bash statements include the if, else. As you can see, you have if, you have else, and you have else if, right? Now, the if statement is relatively simple. It checks to see if a condition is true, but requires a very specific syntax. Now, let's take an example, guys, to the syntax of else, or to the syntax of if, for example. Okay, let's go back to our script. So here we can take an example of the usage of if. So if, and then I put square parentheses, define, I think a very good tip is to define your square parentheses first, and then put the condition inside the square parentheses, not to so you don't forget the square parentheses later when you write your script or while you're writing your script. You put some space here. Let's define some dummy test, for example. And let me say, for example, if user, okay, which is in our case is Kali. Let's say if user equal to Kali, right? I'm going to execute a condition on that based on this. Now the condition would be like, it should be defined by a word called then. Okay. Now I define my condition over here using if, and then I put then if the condition is true, execute the following. Put some kind of. All right. Okay. So echo the condition has been met. Okay. Now you end that with fi. Okay. Let's see how this. Okay. Now we go back to our script, execute that. Now, based on our assignment, user equal to Kali, and based on that, the condition here is true. And we should see the condition has been met statement on the terminal. Let's see that. Oops. Okay, let's execute that. No such file or directory. Okay. username is me, password is something like this. Okay, as you can see here, the statement the condition has been met, okay, was printed out to the terminal, which means that the condition here is true. Now, this is a basic example of using if, guys. And there are many operators to use inside the conditions here. Among them is less than, equal than, greater than, not equal than, not equal to, sorry, equal to. And there are many operators. You can see the operators and how to use them in the bash documentation. All right. So basically here, let's take an example of the use of else. Now, let's remove the fi and we use else. Okay, now else means that if the condition here has not been met or is not true, okay, perform an action. So we do echo the condition has not been met. Okay, then put fi. And let's test that out by changing the value of the user, or changing the condition, sorry. Instead of Cali, we put black arc. Okay. Let's write the changes. And let's execute the script. Now, today the condition has been met. I don't think so. Because the value of user is not Cali. I think there's something wrong over here. So user equal black arc. Let me make sure the changes. Well, so, okay, let me change that and say that user is not equal to or keep it like this, black arc. Let me execute that. So it's saying the condition has been met. I think we have something wrong in our operator. I think, yeah, the mistake is here. So I should change this to be not equal to, write the changes, and then we execute. And it is the same, guys. So what's the problem here? I should get the condition has not been met, because the statement here returns false, right? So it's saying the user is not equal to black arc, and the value we have is Cali. So what's the value of user over here? So what do you think? Oh, weird. The value of user variable is Cali, which is not equal to black arc. There is some space over here. Oh, it's the space, guys. So basically, actually, this is something confused me. I didn't put space between the variable and the equal sign, or the operator sign here, which is equal. So basically, we got the condition has not been met, which is the case. Now, let's move on, guys, to the use of else if. Now, else if, what does else if do, guys? Basically, let's say, for example, the if and else statements, only allow two code execution branches. We can add additional branches, okay, with the else if statement, which uses like something like this, for example. So else if enables us, guys, to put a series of tests other than if. For example, if this condition is met, perform this action. Or if this condition is met, perform this action. Else, else, else. You have a series of else's which perform a series of checkpoints or on specific conditions. And if all of these are not met, the action that will perform is the action that is enclosed in the else statement. So let's say, for example, here I put else if, guys. Else if, guys, uses the same syntax like if. Square parentheses, okay? And here I put like example, let's say, else if user equal to multisim, for example, and I perform some action, let's say echo elif has been succeeded, right? Something dummy, guys, to test our work. So basically what I will put here is put Cali, right? And I should get the statement elif has been succeeded. Now you can extend that and do like more than one elif, guys, okay, to execute a series of checks or a series of tests on specific conditions. Okay, now let's write our changes. Nope. Okay, let's execute that over here. Username, password. What's happened? There's syntax error near else. Yes, I forgot the then, guys. Okay. Okay. So we get here elif has been succeeded, right? Because this condition here is the one that has returned true or 1, right? So basically, guys, it's the use of if, else if, and else. Let's move on to Boolean logical operations. So Boolean logical operations, as you already know, are and, or. They are somewhat mysterious, I know, because Bash uses them in a variety of ways. But basically, guys, one common use of these and or, okay, one common use is inside the command line, okay, inside the shell, other than using that inside a script. So let's move on here, guys. Let me demonstrate to you guys how you can use and or directly from the shell. Okay, so and is like this. You use double ands, double ampersands. Okay, or use double pipelines. All right. Now, let's see let's see what are the others in our system. etc fast. All right. Among them is I have FTP over here. I have mail. Let's run some tests on these guys. So basically, let me demonstrate the example. Okay, let's say grep or not. Let me say user 0 equal FTP, right? Okay. Now grep the value of user 0, right, from etc password file. Now grep will go over the password file and see if the user 0 or the value of the user 0 variable is containing a username which exists there, right? Now, if I put that only, it's gonna, it prints me out the line or the user of the user that's assigned as a value to the variable user 0, which is FTP in this case, right? But if I want to use that in the context of conditional statements, so I can use the same, right? And I can put and over here, echo, for example, user 0 found. Okay, now here grep user 0 etc password. Okay, it will go through the password file and see if the value of user 0, which is FTP, okay, exists in the password file, right? Okay, without the conditional statement over here, what the command will do here, it will print out the line in the password file which contains the FTP user. Now with this, guys, what's going to happen is the AND, okay, the AND Boolean expression will say like, okay, if the user is 0 or if the result of this operation is true, okay, I'm going to execute that. Which means if you find the user 0 inside the password file, it means that this is true, right? So we first assign the username we are searching or looking for, okay, to the user 0 variable, right? Next, we use the grep command to check if a certain user is listed in the etc password file, and if it is, okay, the grep returns true, okay? So if the FTP exists here, it's going to return true, right? And the echo command here is executed. However, if we try searching for a user that we know doesn't exist in the password file, our echo command is not executed. So the execution of the command after the ampersand or the AND logical operation is dependent heavily on the command before the ampersand, if it's going to return true or false. If I execute that, you see here FTP found, right? Okay. Now let's try that on a user that is not exist on the password file. User1 equal me. I am sure that does not exist in the password file. Okay. Now let's grab user1 and say that, okay, same me found. But I'm sure this is not found, guys. How is it? How is this at? Cat I think it's taking the characters literally, guys. So let me clear. Okay, user2 equal. Let's put something unique. Okay, unique. So here, grep user2. Now the echo statement over here should not be executed. Why? Because the command here gives false. Right, so as you can see, nothing shown to the screen. Why? Because the user2, guys, which is unique, is not in the password file. Hence, the command over here returns false or 0, which means that everything after the ampersand or the Boolean expression and will not be executed. Okay, now let's demonstrate an example where we use the OR, okay, in the shell. Okay, now OR, guys, it is not like AND, okay? Let's define that by an example. Let's say, I don't know. let's see the same example, guys. Okay, so let's say grep. Okay, so grep user 2. Okay, and then we put okay, and let's put here or, and then we put echo. I'm gonna explain to you what I'm doing, but let me write the command first. User 2, which is found. Okay, so as you can see, unique found. The echo command has executed. Why? So in the whole example, guys, we took our previous command a step further, actually, and we added the OR operator followed by a second echo command. Now, when grep doesn't find a matching line, okay, and returns false, the second command after the OR operator is executed instead. Okay, okay, let me explain that again. So basically here I have this, right? And I'm sure that the user unique is not found in the password file, which is the case. Now we put and we know that everything after and to be executed, the command that comes before the ampersand and should be true. But it is not true. Hence, this should not be executed, okay? But I have or over here, which is saying echo user2 found. Now, when we have or over here, okay, when this value, when this statement gives false, okay, everything before or will not be executed. Everything after or will be executed instead. That's the job of or when you work it from the shell. Now, these operators can also be used, guys, inside the script, inside your script over here, directly from the shell. You can use them inside the script in a conditional context. Like, for example, I mean, they can be used in a test to compare variables or the results of other tests. When used this way, guys, and combines two simple conditions, and both conditions need to be true in order for the action, okay, to be executed. The case of or is the opposite. One condition is sufficient for the action to be executed. Let's demonstrate that with an example over here. Okay, let's go back. This is our script over here. Okay, now let's go back to if here and use the ampersand or and or operator over here. So user equal black arc. Okay, if user equal black arc or user equal Kali, okay, then execute the enclosed statements, enclosed action. Now, according to the case over here, one condition is only sufficient for the echo statement to be executed. That's how OR works. So if user equal black arc, or if user equal Kali, if this condition is true, or if this condition is true, okay, it's sufficient for this command to be executed. Now, if I save and run the script, I should get this. Okay, but I have else if over here, which can execute another action, and this action is true. Let me demonstrate it with and. And let's put if user equal Kali and let me define another variable over here. Let me put okay, and username equal my name, right? Okay, I put here the elif has been succeeded. Okay, right. So here the Boolean operator and okay works like this. If user equal Kali and if username equal Matasim, right? This echo command will be printed out to the screen. Now I have constructed the conditions over here so that both The first echo and the second echo should be printed out to the screen. Why? Because I've defined we have guys, the value of the user is equal to Cali, which means that this condition will be true, which means that according to the mechanism of OR, the echo statement should be executed. Now let's go to the second statement over here. User equal to Cali, which is correct, and user equal to Motasim, right? But when it prompts me for my user, I'm gonna write it to Motasim. So I make the condition here, so I make both conditions are true in order for the AND to allow the else if to execute the echo. Let's save this. Let's go here, execute our script. Okay, username. We agreed, guys, that we will type our username as my name. Password doesn't matter. No. Okay. So here it's saying something missing. Let's see what's missing over here. Exactly. Something I forgot to say. When you use the Boolean operators and or you should put double equal. Double equal sign. Double equal sign. And let's enclose the values with backticks. Or double quote, one quotes, single quotes. All right. Username, my name. Password, F. Oh, missing code. Command not found. Come on. So what's the issue here? Let me cancel these. Saying that I miss. Yeah, I know it's my mistake actually. So what I'm missing are these. So basically, we forgot to enclose the condition with square parentheses. And now I think we are good. I removed the backticks. Okay, let's try now. LF has been succeeded, but here it's saying another error. I'm tired of these. So I have the square parentheses for this. And then I have the OR. Okay. Okay. So here I put my username as Mu'tasim, and only this one has been executed. Okay. So here what happened, guys, is only this has been executed, Yes, why? Because as or works only for one condition to be sufficiently for the execution, actually. So only one of these guys should be true. This one has been executed. But these guys has not been executed. Why? Because this condition here is, or this condition here evaluated to true. So these guys will be ignored, okay? So basically, don't forget, guys, when you use the Boolean operators in your if statements, don't forget to put every statement or every condition enclosed in a square parenthesis here, okay? And put the double equal signs. Don't forget that. We forget this. Okay, now let's move to, now we have learned how to define variables, print statement out to the screen, assigning the result of a command to a variable, how to prompt the user for how to read user input, how to assign the user input to variables, how to prompt the user for password using the silent switch, and how to use these if statements, Boolean operators, both from the shell and both inside your script. Now let's move to loops. Now actually, first thing first, we have the for loops. For loops actually are very practical and work very well in Bash one-liners. Now this type of loop is used to perform a given set of commands for each of the items in a list. So basically, in order to demonstrate the use of for, let's first demonstrate how to use for in a one Bash liner. And then we go ahead and we use the for inside a Bash script. Okay. Okay. Now, so for guys, the for loop, in for, it's like for loop take each item, okay, in a list, okay, and then this list could be like, this list could contain characters, could contain numbers, it could be something you define inside the for loop, okay, it could be a file. So let's use a basic example over here. So let's say for I in, and let's use a sequence for this. 1 until 10, let's say. Okay. Now, for in Bash one-liners, guys, this is how I define for first. So here the I, which is the variable, okay, that will iterate or will be assigned the values of the list one by one. The list here is a sequence of numbers from 1 to 10. Now for will go through the sequence from 1 to 10, assign every number, okay, to the I variable, and then it's gonna perform the second action. Let's say, for example, and we put do, let's put some space, echo, for example, let's say the value of I. And then we put semicolon and we put done. Okay. Now, for here, the first thing for does takes I, okay, or takes the first value here, which is 1 in the sequence or in the list, assign that to I, okay, goes to the second action, which is do, echo the value of I. It goes back then to the sequence, which is taking the second value, which is 2. All the way till it reaches 10, okay, it prints 10 out to the screen and then goes back, okay, it doesn't find anything, there is nothing after 10, and then it ends the loop. Let's do enter. As you can see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Let me repeat, guys, the for loop here will take each item in the list, okay. Normally it takes that in order, assign that item here, could be number, could be character, as the value of the variable here, which is I. Okay. Now perform the given action between do and done, right here. and then go back to the top, grab the next item in the list, and repeat the steps until the list is exhausted. Okay. Now, in this bash one-liner over here, guys, we used the sequence command to print a sequence of numbers. In this case, the numbers 1 through 10. Each number is then assigned to the I variable. And then each number, okay, is displayed to the screen as the for loop runs multiple times, exiting at the end of the sequence. Okay, now if you tell me, guys, I don't want to use sequence, I don't want to use any command, right? So you can do like this. Okay, let's cancel sequence. Okay, and also we need to cancel that. And we use different kind of, we use this brace expansion for this. The brace expansion is like this. That's how you use, that's how you rewrite the bash one-liner without using the sequence command. So basically, it is another way of rewriting the previous for loop, guys, involves the brace expansion. Okay, this is called the brace expansion, using ranges. Could be 1 to 100. Okay, it could be characters. Now, brace expansion using ranges is written giving the first and the last values of the range, and can be a sequence of numbers or characters. This is called a sequence expression. So if you don't want to use sequence, you can use brace expansion. Let's try it. The same. Let's try 100. Okay, let's try A till F. Okay, and it is the same if you try it with sequence. Okay, the difference is without sequence, use a brace expansion. With sequence, it's like the same principle we learned when we pipe the result of a command to a variable. Okay. Now, let's take an example, guys, the second kind of loops, which is while. Now, while loops are also fairly common, and they execute code while an expression is true. While loops have a simple format, unlike if, use square brackets. Okay, let's take an example. Okay, so I am here. So let's define like counter equal to 1. Okay, and then let's do while loop that will iterate from 1 till 10, for example. Okay, basic use. While square parentheses, comma, space, counter. Let's say to print from 1 to 10, we need to use the operator less than, which is less than. We put 10. And then we close that. But basically, guys, if I want to print from 1 to 9, I use the less than. If I want to print from 1 to 10, including the 10, I need to use different operator, which is, remember the name of the operator. We have less than, we have a greater than, we have equal, we have not equal. What was this? There was greater than equal to, or less than or equal to. So basically here less than or equal. Okay, we can use the same with the greater than or equal. Okay, in our case it's less than or equal. Okay. Now after that, here I define the actions that I will perform. Okay, while the condition of the while loop is true, guys, which is the number between 1 and 10. Okay, so let's do some echoing over here. Echo the value of counter, since we are printing from 1 to 10. And then I need to make the counter variable increase by 1 every time, so the loop doesn't end in an infinite loop, right? Or doesn't go in an infinite loop, sorry. So we put like parentheses, counter, plus plus. Okay, and then we put done. Let's test that while loop. Okay, script, username, password. Another syntax error again. Oh, saying there's something wrong in done. Done. Okay. So counter equal 1. Less than or equal to 10. Echo counter. We increase the value of counter. And then we put done. So what we forgot here is the do, actually. Okay. So we need to do like do. So it's like for, guys. Between the do and done, you have an action. And for while between do and done, you have also an action to perform, or actions. Okay. It printed out 1 through 10, which was our objective from this. Now let's what happened? Okay. Now let's go to the last topic of this video, guys, which is the functions. Now basically, guys, in terms of bash scripting, we can think of a function as a script within a script, which is useful when we need to execute the same code multiple times over and over again. Rather than rewriting the same chunk or block of code over and over, we just write it once as a function, and then we call that function as needed. So you can put that in another way, actually. A function is a subroutine or a chunk of code, guy, that implements a set of operations. Okay. Any operation you want, any action you want, specified set of tasks, anything you want. Okay. All right, now let's specify a basic use of function, and then we go to more complex examples. So for example, any function, guys, is defined like this. Let's say print output, okay? Output. Okay. Now print output over here. The function starts with the name. This is the name of the function. After the name goes two parentheses, and inside two parentheses, don't confuse that with C or C++. No arguments will be passed inside these parentheses. Yeah, I know, these parentheses, you will not use any argument inside of these parentheses. They are like this styling, decoration, whatsoever. So just use these parentheses as only decoration. And then you put the first brace, and after that you put the action that the function will perform. Let's say echo function has been defined. Okay, let's close that, and in order to make that function real, let's call it print output. Let's save that, and we execute over here. Function has been defined. So once I call the function once I call it over here, the function gets executed, right? Now this is a very basic example. Let's cover something something like near practical, guys, because the second video will cover practical examples after we have you ready to tackle practical scenarios. Now, let me remove that print output stuff. Okay. Now, let's demonstrate the use of arguments. So let's say func arguments, okay? And as you know, These two parentheses are for decoration. We don't use them. Let's say echo argument value is what? Okay, put $1. Okay, I remove that. I'm going to tell you what is $1 actually. Now let's close the brace and we call the function func arg, and then we put random. Let's explain more. In this case, guys, we passed a random number. Okay, random is when you put random and you precede that with the $sign, the bash language, okay, or this bash scripting language will give you a random number. Now, basically, we passed a random number, right? A random number over here into the function, which outputs it as $1. The function's first argument. So this one is $number, okay, means that the order of the argument of your function. $1 means the first argument, okay. Now the function here, what's it's gonna do is gonna print out the first argument you pass, okay, to it when you first call it. In my case, it's random. So random here will be printed out to the screen by the function here, right? So random is the first argument, which equals to this one, okay. If I put here, okay, user, I passed the user value variable I created before earlier to the function. I put $2. Okay. Now note that the function definition, function argument here contains parentheses, as I told you. This is decoration, right? They're never used. Also note that the function definition itself must appear in the script before it is called logically. We cannot call something we haven't defined. So avoid calling a function and then define it. Define and then call, guys. Let's test that. So what's the issue here? Unexpected end of while looking for matching. Unexpected end of file. So I defined the function. I know. Okay. Right. So you see, this statement has been brought to life, which is argument value is 8680. The 8680, guys, is the value of the first argument, which is random. And then Cali, which is the value of the second argument, which is user. That's how you use the arguments in a bash script function, guys. You pass them over here in the calling, and then the reference is their orders, right? Numerically, 1, 2, 3, the first, the second, etc. Now, let's talk about how we can let the function return a value, right? So in addition to passing arguments to bash functions, guys, we can of course return values from bash functions as well. So bash functions do not actually allow you, that's a fact, do not actually allow you to return an arbitrary value in the traditional sense. Instead, actually, a bash function can return an exit status, like 0 for success, non-zero for failure, or some other arbitrary value that we can later access from the $sign. Now I'm going to introduce you guys to something called a global variable or local variable. So basically, I can demonstrate to you what does local variable mean, local variable mean, and global variable means. Okay. Now let's see how a bash script can return a value. Okay. Let's cancel these. And here, let me put random value is, and then return. Okay. Okay. Now note that a random number here will be returned actually every time you run the script. Now every time you run the script, the random number, different random number will be returned. Basically, guys, the way you return values is way more complex than this. Okay, let me try to run this first. I'm going to explain to you what does this mean. Random value is empty. Why? We forgot to, that's it. So basically, when we call the function, okay, it's going to print out the random value, and it's going to return the value of random. Okay. Now, in order for us to access that value, we need to use the global sign or the global variable. Okay. Now, how you can use the global variable after you return a value from a function? Actually, let me demonstrate with an example. Echo the function has returned this value, or return the value of $, something weird actually, this one. Now, we returned here the special global variable random, right? Okay, into the $question mark. If we use the return statement without the random argument, the exit status of the function, in our case, would be 0, would be returned instead. Okay, so let's try that. The function has returned a value of 57. So we access the value that the function returns. What if we didn't write random return? Let's try that. Is it going to return exit status be 0 in this case? The function has returned a value of 0. Why? Because when you don't supply, or you don't return a sense like a tangible value with the function, it's going to give you 0 for success and non-zero for failure. Now, the bottom line is, when you want to access the returned value in a bash function, you use that, or you do that with the global, with the $sign and the question mark. Okay. Now let's go to the last concept of this video, which is the local variable and global variables. Okay. And let me do that in a separate script. Why? Because it's very important. Nano global Okay. I hate my keyboard very much. Okay. Bin bash. Okay, let's see, for example, look, by default, all variables in bash are by default global. The scope of a variable is simply the context in which it has meaning. By default, a variable, has a global scope, meaning it can be accessed throughout the entire script, anywhere you want. In contrast, local variables can only be seen within the context in which it has been defined. For example, inside a function, right? A block of code, whatsoever. We can overlay a global. Okay, let me talk about this later. Let me demonstrate my example. So let's say user1 equal Kali, user2 equal black, right? Okay. Now, these are global variables, guys. You can access them from anywhere inside the script. And let's define a function. Let's say print function, right? Print var. Okay. Inside this function, let me first assign a variable, local variable, basically, local user3 equal, let's say, meta, right? Okay. And then, well, let me type, instead of user2, type user2. I'm going to tell you why I assigned the same name. Now, echo the value of user2 is user2. Okay. Now, let me close that. So basically here, let's find the difference between the local and global variable using the example of user2. Okay. Now let's say echo before calling the function user2 is equal to user2. Okay. Okay, now let's call the function. Okay. Okay. Now, when we execute that, before calling the function, the script will jump first to this line. Before calling the function, user2 is equal to black, right? Okay, when we call print variable here, it's gonna execute that. The value of user2 is what? What do you think? It is meta. Let's try this. Okay. I forgot the name. Let's execute the script. Look, before calling the function, user2 is equal to black, which is right here. The value of user2 is meta. Okay, because we define inside the function that user2 is equal to meta over here. Okay. Now let's jump over again to the function. And here, let's say user2 equal what do you want me to do? Linux. Okay. And let's do that. Oh no. Okay. Here, echo. Now, after calling the function, user2 is equal to Okay. What's happening here? Okay. Now, before calling the function user2 is equal to black, it's a global variable. Now we called the function. What happened? It echoed this. The value of user2 is meta because we defined that later, and then the function reassigned the value of user2 globally to Linux, as you can see here. But what I get instead, after calling the function user2 is equal to black. Okay, why? Because user2 in the context of the function is equal to first to meta, then I change that to global to Linux, but it's still black. Why do you think? Because that's the difference between local and global, guys. So let me explain that again. Basically, guys, when I define something as local, it means that the value of that variable is only accessed inside the block in which it is mentioned. When I define a variable as global, the value of that variable, okay, will be the value, okay, will be the value used in the entire script, no matter where I changed it. I changed it here inside the function, okay, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to be reflected on my output. Let me do another line over here. Look. Echo second value of user2 is user2. Let's do that, guys. So, as you can see, first it is black. It's a global variable, right? And then here I called the function. The function, what did the function do, guys? Assign the user2 as a local variable. It's only visible inside the function. I echoed the value. It is meta, okay? And I reassigned it as a global variable inside the function. And I echo it inside the function. It is Linux, which is right. And then after I called the function, guys, even though I reassign the value of user2 to Linux, the value of black will override that because it's a global and more visible than this. Okay. And here, when I echoed that, it gave me black. That's the difference between local variable and a global variable. And that is the difference between using a global variable inside a function and outside a function. Now, in the next video, guys, we're going to talk about, or we're going to take practical examples of bash scripting. We're going to lay down that, and we're going to talk about this more, more clearly. And I hope you find this video somewhat informative, guys. And see you in the next video.